Good morning and welcome to this midweek devotional thought. I'm glad you have joined me. One of my sarcastic church members, and there are many, sent me an email that said something like this. When I read this, I thought about you. Well, right off, I knew it was either a corny preacher joke that I'd already heard before, or an Alabama joke. Given my vocation and my birth in that land flowing with milk and honey. Actually, I have my Alabama shirt on this morning. Well, it was neither, but the connection with me was, one, my love of oldies music, and two, my advancing years. The header of the email said that singing artists from yesteryear are revising their lyrics to accommodate aging baby boomers, and that would be me. For example, Bobby Darin's Splish Splash, I Was Having a Flash. Herman's Hermits, Mrs. Brown, You've Got a Lovely Walker. Ringo Starr's I Get By With a Little Help From My Depends. The Bee Gees, How Can You Mend a Broken Hip? Paul Simon's 50 Ways to Lose Your Liver. Leo Sayers' You Make Me Feel Like Napping. Tony Orlando's Not 3 Times on the Ceiling If You Hear Me Fall. Helen Reddy's I Am Woman, Hear Me Snore. And my favorite, Leslie Gore's It's My Procedure, and I'll cry if I want to. Like I said, I have some sarcastic church members. So obviously I was thought of because of my love of oldies music and because I too am having procedure after procedure. And though we might get a little chuckle out of those revised lyrics, growing old is no laughing matter. As some of my older church members will say to me, aging or growing old is not for sissies. Speaking of old, have you ever stood at the base of one of those giant redwood trees? We took a trip to California years ago. That was probably the highlight of the trip. It was amazing. You know, they can reach 300 feet in the air. They have 100 feet in circumference. They are hundreds, maybe even thousands of years old. But what is more impressive is that they are still growing. They can add about 500 board feet a year. I don't know what that means exactly, but it sounds like a lot, huh? As we humans age, our bodies continue to grow, just not always in the right directions or places. They typically grow in the direction of gravity. They also grow in their rigidity and their susceptibility to diseases. But growth happens without any encouragement at all. As long as there is life, growth never stops. Even for those aging baby boomers whose lives consist of procedure after procedure. What we need to ensure is that personal growth continues and spiritual growth continues as we age. This can happen in a lot of ways. During this coronavirus crisis, things are not the way they normally are. It's tough, isn't it? We're having to learn a lot of patience and having to do without some things that are really important to us. We're missing out on some really big things, and grief is happening. Well, we can really grow during times of grief. There's a period of grief, then there's a period of depending on God and learning from what has happened to our lives. So this is a great opportunity for growth during this crisis. Some of you have grandchildren. Lucky you, maybe I will someday. When they come along, you can learn from them and grow. Learn about the simplicity of faith, again, about purity, innocence, and social media. Our journey with life and with God is always upward and outward. As long as we live, we should put out some new leaves of faith and commitment. We should never stop growing spiritually this side of heaven. Yes, I have a few circles around my trunk. Thank you very much. And yes, it's my procedure, and I'll cry if I want to.